Welcome everybody to Wednesday Women's Wine Time. Thank you all for joining us. I'm so excited to be doing tonight because I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I don't have a special guest tonight because I want to talk about something that has really come up a lot lately, and that is about spirituality and about really how to touch into your get into your intuitive gifts and really open yourself up. And so tonight we're going to be talking about what really is spirituality and how do you go on that path, grounding, trusting your intuition, and we're also going to talk about protection. So let's get into it. Tonight's more of a discussion. So if you have anything to add, please feel free to jump on in. I know it's a really big topic, but I think there are a lot of people out there who really are starting to awaken and really could benefit from some of this information. So
I like how they've all disappeared, Jess.
I know.
I know who they think you're talking with.
Yeah, no, I know it's just you and me, Deb. So, Deb, you're probably the best person to talk about this anyway.
I'm going to disappear and go on mute on that.
I'm here.
There you go.
Oh, hi, Marianne.
Hi, Jess. Hi,
How are you going?
I'm good. I'm cooking dinner, so you're not going to see my face.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, Deb, we might start with maybe some advice for people who are just getting started on their spiritual journeys. You know, they're kind of starting to awaken and they think, oh, maybe I do have some psychic or some mediumship gifts, or I want to, you know, move more into light work. What sort of advice would you give to them?
Firstly, everybody does have the capability, 100%. They're just gifts that we got taught in childhood to put aside so that we could live in the here and now and live in the material, physical world. So if they begin to notice things and think, I can sense when things are going to happen, or I feel like I'm being guided because of synchronicity, or whatever it happens to be, absolutely. And it's as you know, Jess, very, very well worth following the path. And whether you read books or you watch YouTube videos or you go to courses, it's well worth following your path and seeking how to go deeper.
And exploring it, you know, and you don't have to jump straight in. And I think that's one of the big messages from that you can take away from tonight is you don't have to just jump straight in. You can sort of dip your little toe in and see, you know, how it feels and try different things, because something that might work for you wouldn't work for me, or it might work for me and it won't work for you. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've probably learned is when I felt the need to really open up and explore those gifts, it often comes after something really tumultuous or traumatic or horrific happens in our life. And so I think, you know, it can be a very special place to, you know, that journey can be quite a special place because it can be quite peaceful, you know, after you've come through this, you know, this mess. And I think you know, for a lot of us, that's a really good indication if you're going through a really rough time at the moment, or, you know, it just feels like you're in a bit of a storm, or, you know, you're having issues with your career. It's usually a good indication that the universe is trying to get you back on track. Do you guys sort of agree with that?
Just giving everyone else a chance to chat. you know I do, Jess.
Yeah, I definitely do, Jess. Very much so. It's like a nagging or a pulling, and it just doesn't go away, and it kind of forces you to really look inwards. And that's when, yeah, I feel like it kind of opens up.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it, you know, it can, I talk about this in my book too. It sort of starts off with like a little sun shower, and then, you know, particularly when you're not aligned to your blueprint. I feel like this starts to happen. And then, you know, the universe will start sending, like, you know, a heavier rainfall. And then if you're still not listening and you're still not, you know, moving onto the right path, and they start to send you basically a shitstorm. And then if you're still not listening, it's like they send you bricks. So I think that there is really, especially, you know, for people who are definitely called to move into the light work, there is that real tugging feeling in your soul. And there is that, that almost that longing. And I've actually spoken to quite a few people who have identified as being really depressed and really sad. And the only way that I can sort of explain it is to say that, yes, I do agree that some of it is medical. I really do agree with that, having, you know, had a vast history of mental health issues, you know, in the family and myself. But more so than that, it was really about me not aligning to what I expected my life to be, and about, you know, really going inside and doing something that brought me so much joy and passion and happiness. So I think
Peace, yeah,
yeah,
peace, wasn't it, Jess? And
yeah.
and did you find that what you were seeking when you said that you weren't finding the happiness and things weren't aligning for you, were you seeking those things from outside before you found inside?
Yeah, and it's still something that I do, you know, I'll be honest, it's something that I do sort of struggle with too, is, you know, when you're in that pain and you're not a lot complete, like, you know, aligned, that you can be trying to numb that by using external things, whether it be, you know, have a shopping addiction, or whether it's, you know, excessive alcohol, or whether it's drugs. You know, people do use those things, and that's okay. You know, I'm not saying it's wrong or it's right. It's not, you know, if it's self-abuse, it's harmful, but we've all got our own journeys and we all have to respect that. And I think we all have to learn to be very gentle on ourselves. We'll all be
Yes.
so hard on ourselves.
Oh, for sure, because, you know, most of us will avoid. It doesn't have to be a substance, you know, it can be the screen. We're avoiding those quiet moments with ourselves. It can be having a really stacked social life, so that we just don't have moments alone. A lot of people avoid because what we think is, correct me if I'm wrong, we think that's where we've pushed all the pain is in here. We've pushed it down and pushed it down. So I don't want to look in there. So I'll just keep going out.
I know, that's very much, yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm reading that book that you lent me. Is it called The Soul's Journey?
Was it Brandon?
Yes. I think
Brandon
that's what it's called. Yeah, and I'm finding that very interesting because she describes in the book getting to an actual point where she's on like a precipice and it's like a dark ledge. And in order for her to move forward, like she's absolutely shit scared, but in order for her to move forward in her healing journey, she had to just let go and fall and go into that really dark space without, you know, she didn't know what it was. There was this uncertainty and fear, and I found that really interesting because we all, I think, get to a point in our lives where we, you know, if we do start to, you know, go through the layers, that we do get to a point where we do have to just jump and just.
The ambulance will come. You hear it there? Can you hear the siren?
Yeah.
We're safe. They're right there if we fall.
Yeah. So it is. It's an interesting way that she explains it. So, yeah, I think the next thing that I've been asked a lot about lately is grounding. So, Deb, what happens when we don't ground?
Okay, so if you are a scientific person who likes to have a scientific basis for what you learn about, then you can literally Google grounding and find the scientific documents that explain that we have positive and negative ions in our body. And when we started wearing shoes and started walking on false surfaces that were not the earth, what we started to do is we stopped the grounding process. We were not spending as much time with our feet on the earth, and the earth literally grounds us, and science has proven that. And if we're not grounded, then the positive ions are actually the dangerous ones. They become a free radical, and they're not actually being let go. So it's like, I always liken it to, we're getting energy all the time. It's literally pouring in the top of our heads. And if you have a jug of energy pouring into the top of you, and you get full because you're not releasing anything, then these little naughties will get busy and do things they're not supposed to do, right? And the free radicals feel like anxiety. So it's no wonder that we have a culture of people becoming so anxious because we're not connecting to the earth anymore.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because so many more, even kids now are getting really bad anxiety. And for many of them, they're just medicating them. And, you know, I think medication is great in some ways, but in others, I don't know whether we're over-medicating.
I don't think it should be first choice.
Yeah, yeah.
But no one's, you know, the scientific community, especially the doctors, are not talking about, oh, wow, if your child's anxious, try these grounding exercises.
Yeah.
You know,
kids aren't getting out as much anymore, are they? They're on their devices and they're at home, and, you know, particularly with everything that's happened recently, though, too. But more than that, we're not, you know, a lot of kids grew up on property, whereas the properties seem to be getting smaller and smaller, and no backyard, and they're just not getting out of the house. And you know, I know for me in particular, I find taking off my socks and shoes and walking on the grass is just magic for me. And also doing that at the beach, just in the salt water, is just, it's just heaven.
And that's all we need to do. It's so natural. It's so natural, but we don't always have the time. We don't always have the property. Like myself, I'm looking at a beautiful beach that I can go walk on, but I don't have the time to do it. So the faults, or the not faults, but the alternative way to do it is with that. Do you want to explain the visualization that we can do, Jess?
Oh.
Grounding?
Yeah, yes. And I learned this from Deb, and I thought it's a very beautiful thing. And I do it often, actually, especially when the kids are driving me nuts. So if I can, I take my shoes off. If I can't, then I just can't. And I just firmly plant both feet on the floor. And then I imagine these golden roots, and I imagine them going through Mother Earth. And I always ask for her permission, because it is her sacred space. And so I ask for her permission and send the golden roots down, down, down into the earth. And usually I imagine the center, the core of the earth is like a beautiful, like round selenite. And so I imagine, and I imagine the golden roots just really wrapping themselves, intertwining around that beautiful selenite. And then, just taking those roots back up again. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and that's it. And when you actually do it consciously and you see your roots, like I see, it's because I feel we can stop ourselves and feel like, what do we feel like inside? And we either feel like all over the place and we just can't get anything right, and we're tripping, we're knocking things over, or we feel anxious, or we just don't feel well. And once we do that process of putting the roots down, if we just stay for a moment longer, we're just sending that energy that we want to get rid of right down those roots, which I know you'll be doing too, Jess. And it just feels like, oh, thank God to be rid of that. And it's that easy, isn't it? It's like 30-second exercise.
Yeah. And it's so beneficial, especially if you can't. I mean, nature is always my first
choice.
It is. And if I'm really not in a good place, I often will go up to, obviously a lot of us live either in Brisbane or the Gold Coast. I know Marianne's in Melbourne, but I got to the Gold Coast hinterland, and I often will take the kids for a bushwalk, especially if they're getting really ratty. And I know that they've probably, spent too much time on their devices or Xbox. I take them for a nice long bushwalk. And Jenna and Sam, you really enjoy that too, don't you?
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why I crave going camping so much, because I just get back out in nature. You know me, I hate being barefoot, and it's
Yeah,
about
I know. I
being
was thinking of you when I said that.
oh, I hate it. I hate having dirty feet. So when, you know, going camping or going to the beach or doing our bushwalks when we take our shoes off down by the stream, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, we went on a really beautiful bushwalk recently, which Sam went back again with Jenna a couple of weeks later, up to O'Reilly's. And it wasn't the O'Reilly's walk or anything. It was a bushwalk right before you enter O'Reilly's. And it was just stunning, wasn't it, guys?
So
It
nice.
is beautiful.
Yeah, it was just beautiful. And it just had this, like, when I went up with Sam the first time, we took all the kids up there. All the kids took their shoes off and were, you know, in the water and on the rocks, and they just had such a wonderful time, and they were all so much more chilled and at peace on the way home, and the couple of days after that as well. So yeah, is there any other ways? They're the three that I really use. Is there any others that, I mean, crystals are another one, aren't they? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a big piece of rose quartz under my desk at work, which is the spiritual center, and then at home right here when I do the occasional work from home. And that's another cheat. So you just put your feet on it, that's all. And it feels quite nice, actually. And you just put your feet on it. You're literally grounding.
Do you take your socks off?
You don't have to, but like I'm cold tonight, so I probably would leave my little socks on.
Yeah.
But you just see how it feels. Like we'll both try it, and you just see how it feels. And immediately, I just want to take a nice deep breath when I put my feet on it, and it's like
Yeah. Well, that's
so. It doesn't have to be rose quartz. It doesn't have to be a fancy crystal.
Yeah.
Perfect. It can just be a garden variety stone, and that might be a little exercise you can get the kids to do, Jess, is for them to find their own stones next time you go out bush or something like that, and say, okay, you're each going to have your own grounding stone, and when you get crazy, you're all going to sit with your grounding stone under your feet.
That's a great idea. Great tip. Love that one. I'm going to do that one. I'm going to steal that. Awesome.
No, it's for you to have.
Yeah. I'm going to definitely use that. I think particularly for Josh. I think Josh gets a bit ungrounded. He likes the Xbox the most. So the next thing.
Cara just did it. Cara, how's that to you?
I don't know. I'm not paying attention. I'm paying attention to you. That's a problem.
Can you feel a difference?
Right now, when I pay attention, yes.
Yeah, that's it. It's so subtle. And that's it. And that's the difference between our material world and our spiritual world, is just noticing the subtle, isn't it? Sorry, Jess, didn't mean to take over. I just noticed that Cara had grabbed her is it rose quartz as well?
Yeah, rose quartz as well. Yeah.
Have we lost you, Jess?
No, I'm just trying to feel in. I can feel little tingles though underneath my feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one's a lavender rose quartz that I got from you, and I love it. I love it. It's just so, it's more about self-love, the lavender rose quartz. I just love it. The next topic that I thought we'd talk about is protection. So usually when I do all my, go into that space, I do my grounding first, and then I move on to my protection, because that's really important, isn't it?
Yes.
So protection, when you start to move into this realm, there are, beautiful spirit guides and angels, and, there are some beautiful things, but there's also some negative things too that can pop up. I've had a couple of, once or twice where it's been somebody who's crossed over and haven't been a nice spirit to be entertaining. And I've had to really stop that, put my boundaries in place. It's just like in life where, you can almost feel that when you step into, I used to work as a criminal lawyer, and I could certainly, not every criminal is a bad person, but there are some that are really their souls are just not in a good place. And I certainly could feel that and sense that energy, and it would always put me on edge and always make me feel, oh, yucky inside. And I'd be the first one to try and get out of there. But it's the same in the spirit realm too. So it's so important when you start to open up and become more open spiritually that you really do the work and you protect yourself. So for me, one of the big ones is, and this is just a personal thing, I do all the groundwork, and then I envision going on my path and walking my path up to my little tree house, which has actually altered since I first started my spiritual journey. It's now this beautiful log cabin on the top of a hill, and then it moved into like a big, almost like, you know, like the American Indians, and they sit around a big campfire, and that's where I am at the moment. But I always, along that journey, along that path, I always ask Archangel Michael just to protect me and just to shield me from any negative energy. And I often just give him, I know he's really big, but often just give him a little cuddle just to say, yep, thanks, I know you're there, and then move forward. But does anybody else have any other ways that they protect themselves before they, you know, move into a meditation, or they do a reading for somebody, or anything like that? Cara, do you have anything that you use to protect yourself?
It's much the same, to be honest. Much the same. Like, I'll do obviously your grounding meditation, and yeah, call upon Archangel Michael as well. If I'm doing an Akashic reading, I do a very specific sort of, I suppose, prayer that I was taught in respect of for the Akashic records, with you know, violet flames, and just and also a very strong cord cutting afterwards.
Yes.
To make sure that there's nothing.
How do you do your cord cutting?
Sorry?
How do you do your cord cutting?
Again, it's just really just a prayer, really just a declaration almost, that we're just
setting that intention.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And that's really, really it. But every now and again, you know, if you're feeling a bit off, I always do a bit of a deeper meditation cord cutting for just whatever it is that's off at the time.
It was funny you say that, because I recently had a healing with I can't even, it was called like a dream time healing, and it was very much about entities and getting rid of entities and things like that. It was a very it was good, don't get me wrong, but it was a very different experience to what I've experienced in the past. It was very much about, you know, breath work and you know, things coming straight to the conscious level, so regurgitating things, but also getting rid of past indigenous things that were attached to the soul. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of different things that you can, you know, healings and modalities and things to explore. But yeah, I just thought I'd try something a bit different. Deb, how do you protect yourself?
Similar, really. So I now do the same exercise. I start by a little bit of breath work, bring my awareness down into my heart center, and then from there I feel what my energy is like, and I send the energy down to do the grounding, and then I come back up. I'm connected to source, basically. Ask my permissions to work with the archangels, ascended masters, my team, clients' teams, etc. And then the first one that I go to is Archangel Michael, and I ask him to work with me, because I no longer can allow him to do it alone. They said you have to take responsibility. So I ask him to work with me as I clear any energy from myself that is not my own, that is low vibration, any hexes, spells, curses, hooks, or attachments, and any negative energy directed towards me. And I just say those words, but I have to remember, because otherwise it starts getting really uncomfortable. I have to follow that with and replace it. So help me to release it and help me to replace it with high vibe energy. Because otherwise it's like a vacuum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I do
then
the same, yeah, with that in terms of when I'm doing any sort of chakra clearing or whatever, or healing, I always say, you know, take it to source and transmute it into divine light source energy and replace, you know, fill it back up to create balance. So yeah, I think that, yeah, I do that as well.
yeah, and then once I'm all lovely and feeling high vibe, then I'm pretty much good to go. Sometimes if I know I'm going certain places, or I've got some clients that I'm doing some pretty heavy work with, then I will ask for some protection from him. But otherwise, I stay fairly open and just clear myself after each client. So, but the protection also, I should mention, when we've had alcohol, all my barriers drop. So if I go to sleep after having even one glass of wine, I have the worst night terrors because my barriers have dropped and I'm getting the low vibe stuff that will terrorize me. So now if I have a glass of wine, I have to remind myself to ask Archangel Michael to protect me while I sleep, and then I don't get any problems with that.
Wow, that's an interesting one. Wow.
Gary can attest to that because I will scream in my sleep because the things terrorizing me are pretty awful.
Because
but that's only. Pardon?
Do you think it's
an
open channel? Yeah.
Yeah, and I've dropped all protection.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I might have to. Yeah.
But I figured it out. I mean, I've always been bothered by night terrors. Some people are and some people aren't, but I have been since a child, and so are my children. So that's that open channel thing. So it's just another thing that you can have them help you. If that's bothering you or your children, you can invoke Archangel Michael to help you with that.
What about cleansing the home? I know a lot of people say, you know, use sage, and I do sage the house. I know a lot of people do, but I think more about the saging is really the intention and going into the house and really setting the intention to protect the home. I know, you know, as we go through life, certain things happen, and, you know, particularly for me, I had an incident where I was really fearful and there was a lot going on in my life. And so every night before I went to sleep, I would just envision in my head this big bubble that would go over my house, and I'd envision the bubble over my car and my possessions and my babies and my husband, and that's really how I would protect the family, especially, you know, when things you feel like you're being attacked, or you know, somebody has said something that's not nice towards you. But does anybody else have anything, you know, more along the lines of protecting our space and our homes and our cars? Any other things that have worked for them?
I'm just hanging back to let other people talk, Jess.
Cara, do you do anything like that?
I do much the same issue, but it's for, like, I mean, I say it every now and again, but I don't feel the need that it needs to be done all the time. It's just something that if I suddenly feel the urge, then I do it. But I don't get caught up in thinking that it needs to be done all the time, or at certain time, or at certain points in the moon cycle, or whatever. Like some people feel the need for whatever reason, or that may be their guidance. And the same with I always unlike Deb, whenever I do meditate, I do call on Archangel Michael to reaffirm the bubble of protection around me. And when I feel, and if I feel the need as well, I will extend that to, like you say, the family, the house, the car, the children. Although I always get a little bit conscious about that, because sometimes, you know, you don't want to overstep your boundary there, because you can't protect others from everything. I mean, they've got to have their own sort of life journeys as well. But when I feel, again, guided to do so, I will do so.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll share a tip too with you guys. As much as I love sage and I love incense, I'm not allowed those things. I'm a apartment living for the last couple of years. So just not allowed those things. And in the center that I have too, because we're around other businesses, we're not allowed to burn anything like that. They just complain. So I started working again with Archangel Michael, and we just literally use my hands, and you guys can all do this in your own homes too. You can go from room to room and feel the energy. Yeah, you can, like, if you've been Reiki tuned, you'll feel it more, but anyone can feel the energy, and you'll feel it here and you'll feel it here, and then you can just ask them to help you release anything low vibe or anything that's left over, like residual energy. Because if there's been an argument in that room, or there's been tears in that room, or there's, you know, a lot of energy in the room, then you just release it, and you just ask them to help you release it. Whew, like you said, Cara, to be transmuted elsewhere, and just backfill it with beautiful high vibe energy. And when you do that with him, because I do it in my own office space every day, and when you do it with him, sometimes I'll leave my clients sitting there while I do it, and they can almost feel the whoosh. It's like it's a swap. Like the energy that comes in is so beautiful and light, and the heavy stuff goes. And you can do that in your home too.
Beautiful. I love that. So it's that coming back to that intention too.
Yeah.
The last thing that I thought we'd touch on tonight is intuition, visions, and dreams. And I know we spoke with Marnie spoke last week, and I received her beautiful book today, which is called Dreams, Visions, and Dreams, Visions, and Intuitions. And she's been running a course for in week 3. We've got one more week to go, about really leaning into that and about really trusting that. And so she's really, last night was all about symbols, and it was just such a beautiful space where she was talking about, you know, really trying to feel into your dreams. And it's not about, you know, you can research the meaning of them, but the first thing that she said you need to do is to really just feel into them and feel, like, work out how you're feeling about them. And then she was talking about, you know, what the different animals mean, and you know, certain things that happen on your car as well. They can often be signs. You know, she had a flat battery, and she was like, you know, it was a sign that was sent to me. And so I guess my question for you guys is, how did you start trusting your intuition and your visions and your dreams?
I think
sorry, you go, Cara.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, with, I suppose, intuition, really, it was just doing a course and doing some practice reading and things like that. I mean, obviously, if you do that and build your confidence, you get some hits and things. In terms of I think it's the hardest part of trusting is for yourself rather than other people, because you're always, that logical brain is always second guessing. It's like, is that right? Are you really sure? Is that really what you're saying? Because that doesn't seem right to me. Right? That's my left brain talking. With dreams, so I think, I don't know where that really started for me, but I know just over time, I think just more and more I've just really started to pay attention to them. And it's always, I mean, I've always thought dreams were to work crap out for yourself for the most part. I mean, you can have, I mean, it's just processing what's happening, but there's a lot, when you really think about it, you can use it as a really reflective tool to really understand, okay, for whatever's going on in your life, like, what's trying to tell me about this? What's really going on here? What's underneath it? What's in the subconscious about this? And what do I need to take from this? I mean, it's not always easy. And, you know, frequently I'll write it down, my dreams down, and ask for further guidance and the like. But yeah, at the moment, I find that's where I'm getting the most of my guidance, because I'm not spending enough time in silence. But I'm deliberately asking to get it in dreams, because of course I'm silent. Then I do have a baby waking me up, but I don't have it throughout the whole entire evening. So, but yeah, so I do ask, and I always ask for it to come in a dream that's just before I wake, and that I remember anything that's really important.
Yeah.
So then I'm not stressing about what I need to remember, because I know I'm remembering what I need to remember. I just trust that. Do
you write your dreams down? Some of them?
Most of the time I do. Yeah. Actually, when I say write down, it's not always written down in a journal. Sometimes that will be sent to you or Sia or No, it's written down somewhere, but it also does help me process it when I do that. Like I'm writing it down and things start coming to you like, oh yeah, that's what that's about.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. What about you, Deb?
Well, how I've been thinking about the answer to that question with trusting intuition. I think everyone does the same thing. You think you're imagining things sometimes, but then it's correct. And spirit just keeps showing you that you're correct. And the one that most people experience and don't realize it's intuition, and I've experienced it myself, is when you get a little ping of, ooh, don't trust that person, or a ping of warning, or a ping that something's not right here. And you just go roughshod right over the top of it and ignore it because that wouldn't be polite, but I want this relationship to work, or whatever it is. And then afterwards you go, yeah, well, I did have the ping. So my intuition was correct. I just chose to ignore it. And I just think that most people experience that. And then whether you're doing your own cards, or whether you're just meditating and trusting your higher self, whatever it is, I think it's just demonstrated to you over and over that it's correct. And I guess the thing that I kind of ask people now is what you're doing working for you? Are you getting some benefit out of it? Whatever it is, whether it's religion, whether it's meditation, whether it's whatever, and are you feeling that you can trust yourself more by being connected to whatever this is? And if people say yes, then they should trust it. That's all about the benefit.
I think one of the things,
go ahead.
Sorry, that really resonated with me, that really helped me in many ways, particularly when I've done your mediumship course and your psychic development course. One of the things that really stuck with me throughout the course was it is in part your imagination. And, I think that completely flipped everything on its head for me, because I was so analytical that I thought, oh, these messages are only going to be, they're going to just sit there and talk to me, and I'm just going to regurgitate the words. And I think it was more when you explained, well, and this is how it works. I know it's different for everybody. Everybody uses different senses and things, but particularly for me, is that I will get the messages come in the back of my head, and it's not them, actually talking to me, but it's it's almost like they throw in a, on the comics with the caption bubbles, and it's just an image or a feeling or a thought. I did a reading the other day, and somebody was asking me, how do you do this, and how do you feel this? And I explained it like this. The person that I'd connected to on the other side was her grandmother, and her grandmother was just reassuring her that when it was time for her to pass and she went into the spirit realm, that she would be there to show her, where's the shopping centre, where's the toilets, and where's the, where do you go to get food? But in that sense, it's not that those things are, they're going to the toilet in the spirit realm, but it was just that sense of she's going to show her around and where things are and what you can do there and how you go to the next level and how you progress. And so I kind of explained it to her like that, and she thought that was a good way to explain it. So I thought I'd share that with you. And that's
cool.
Yeah. And I know for you, Deb, you get things in lots of different ways. I know with, tasting, and I've only had that happen once. It was like, whoa.
Yeah. Can use, so any of the senses that we have in our everyday life can also be used spiritually, and clair just means clear. And so, we've got all of these senses that we use every day also are clair, which means that if we taste something that we haven't actually ingested that day, then we're tasting it from spirit. It's not actually there. But the thing that you said about the playground, I wanted to go back there, or the imagination, rather. That imagination is the place where spirit meets us. And that's why we meditate. And some people don't meditate, but they get quiet and they get still and they get calm because they're releasing from their analytical mind and going more into that imaginary, relaxed, whimsical state And that's where spirit meets us. So when people like yourself, Jess, and they're like, I feel like I'm just imagining this. And I'm like, then you're doing it exactly right. Because if your imagination is working, then spirit's right there. Because spirit can't do it with logic and logical brain.
And it's shutting down that ego. You know, often you'll just be telling yourself, oh my God, this is just crazy town.
And when it's crazy town, then that's when you need to tell her, you're being a bitch and you need to be quiet now. Because I got this.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's awesome. Is there anything, before I wrap up, is there anything else that anybody would like to share or perhaps ask a question? Feel free to, I'm opening the floor up now. Anybody?
So I'm going to ask you something, Jess. So what prompted you? Because you've stepped back into reading. So how did Spirit let you know it was time?
Oh, goodness, that's a really great question. And I don't know if I'm actually ready, really, to step into that.
They've made you step in either way, ready or not.
Yeah, that's right. Gosh, I think it just hit me with when I was doing meditation one day, and I was like, I obviously, have my book and my coaching, and it was like, there's still something missing. I felt like there was just a piece of me that was missing. But I guess doing readings for people has always been really fearful for me, because I do take it really seriously. I'm not going to sit there and tell people things that I'm just, I'm going to make up, or because I know that there are some people out there who do that.
Yeah.
They just say what you want to hear. And I'm not one of those people. I think it's wrong. And, you're paying for a service, and I think you should get what you're paying for. And so it took me really a year to really wrap my head around the fact that I could actually A, do it, and B, that I was ready to move into the realm of the exchange of energies. Because I have 5 kids, obviously a lot of my energy is invested in them. So that was another big thing. And then really it was just this wake up call one day where I was like, you know what, I kind of really love working with women and helping them with, try and step up and awaken and move into their purpose and their power. What better way to kind of do that than to really work with my psychic abilities and my mediumship abilities and just really give them the confidence to make that leap. So that's kind of where it's come from. And I think I did a few last week, and they were just so beautiful. They were really, really amazing. And and it just gave me that sense of, this is kind of where I need to be for right now. So I think that answers.
Beautiful. That's great. That's great. I was so happy and pleased. I was so pleased when you said you were back at it, and I thought, yes, that's beautiful. Because what it is it's a very vulnerable space.
It is.
The best in the world, the very best in the world, psychics or mediums only claim 80% accuracy. So 1/5 of the time you're going to be getting a no, and that's a very vulnerable space to be in. So it takes some real development and growth to be ready to step in there and go, okay, but the other 4 out of 5 times, these are going to be messages and information that are going to really help my client.
Yeah, and it's also that, I'm very analytical. So it's like stepping into that space it took a lot of overcoming, a lot of fear, and you're exactly right. Being vulnerable. It is. It's, that vulnerability is a pretty scary place to be. But I think when you get to the other side of the bridge and you cross that stream, it's a pretty awesome feeling. Yeah.
Congratulations, Jess.
Oh, thank
Happy for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. And it's, it's kind of the soul niggles, as we were talking about earlier, it's kind of that little push. Oh, okay, I'm going. So it is. It's exciting, and I very much, I guess, have really tried to focus my readings more on career and guidance and awakening and opening up spiritually, and that's kind of the space that I feel really comfortable in right now. So who knows?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's exciting. So if that's all for tonight, I do want to end with just an announcement about the Love Yourself Deeper Challenge, which will begin on the 20th of July. So you can still register for that. This is the first time that it's going to be available for free. So tell your girlfriends. It's going to be an amazing challenge. It's 10 days. The content I have really researched. I've really delved deep into it. I've done a lot of the work myself. So it's going to be really sacred and really special. And I think if you're ready to up level your life, this is the challenge that you really want to be doing, because if we don't love ourselves deep enough, we can't really move to the next level of manifesting our big goals and our big dreams. So if you want to register for that, just head to www.jesssermak.com. And it's the Love Yourself Deeper Challenge. So head on over, get it for free while you still can, because it will be offered through the website after this, but it will cost some money. So yeah, join us. We'd be delighted to have you. And as Deb said, I have stepped into the reading space. It is very scary and daunting, but I am also loving it, offering life guidance readings, but also soul alignment readings for light workers. So you can find out all the info at my website. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I am just so honoured to have each and every one of you in this space, and for all that you contribute. Like, it's really beautiful, and I really appreciate it. So
thank you for hosting, Jess. You're awesome.
Thank you so much, guys. And we will see you all next week. I have a very special guest, and it is Paula Burgess. So she's going to be joining us next week, which is Kara's stepmom. So that's exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah. We'll see you next week, guys.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.